Hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking about flasher switch problems. If you're having trouble with your turn signals, it could be your flasher switch. In this video, I'll show you how to troubleshoot and fix a bad flasher switch. I'll also give you some tips on how to prevent flasher switch problems in the future. So, if you're ready to learn more about flasher switches, let's get started. If your turn signals aren't working at all, the first thing you should check is the fuse. The turn signal fuse is usually located in the fuse box under the hood of your car. If the fuse is blown, replace it with a new one of the same amperage. If the fuse is not blown, the problem could be with the turn signal switch itself. The turn signal switch is located on the steering column and is responsible for sending power to the turn signal lights. To test the turn signal switch, you can use a multimeter to check for continuity between the switch and the turn signal lights. If there is no continuity, the switch will need to be replaced. If only one side of your turn signals is working, the problem could be with the turn signal bulb, the turn signal socket, or the wiring. To check the turn signal bulb, simply remove it from the socket and inspect it for any damage. If the bulb is damaged, replace it with a new one. If the turn signal bulb is not damaged, the problem could be with the turn signal socket. The turn signal socket is the metal connector that the turn signal bulb plugs into. To check the turn signal socket, you can use a multimeter to check for continuity between the socket and the turn signal bulb. If there is no continuity, the socket will need to be replaced. If the turn signal bulb and socket are both working properly, the problem could be with the wiring. The wiring for the turn signals is located under the hood of your car and runs from the turn signal switch to the turn signal lights. To check the wiring, you can use a multimeter to check for continuity between the turn signal switch and the turn signal lights. If there is no continuity, the wiring will need to be repaired. Sometimes, a bad turn signal switch can cause problems with other electrical systems in your car. This is because the turn signal switch is part of a complex circuit that includes the headlights, tail lights, brake lights, and hazard lights. If the switch is malfunctioning, it can send incorrect signals to these other systems, causing them to not work properly or at all. For example, if the turn signal switch is stuck in the on position, it can cause the headlights to stay on even when the car is turned off. This can drain the battery and make it difficult to start the car. Additionally, if the turn signal switch is not sending the correct signal to the brake lights, it can make it difficult for other drivers to see when you are braking, which could lead to an accident. The turn signal switch is a small, but important, part of your car's electrical system. It is responsible for controlling the turn signals, hazard lights, and sometimes the high beams. The switch is usually located on the steering column, and it is operated by a lever or a button. When you move the lever or press the button, the switch sends a signal to the turn signal relay. The relay then turns on the appropriate lights, depending on which direction you are signaling. The turn signal switch also controls the hazard lights, which flash all 4 turn signals at the same time. There are a few different ways to diagnose turn signal switch problems. One way is to check the turn signal lights themselves. If the lights are not working properly, or if they are flashing too fast or too slow, it could be a sign that the switch is bad. Another way to diagnose turn signal switch problems is to check the hazard lights. If the hazard lights are not working, it is likely that the switch is bad. Finally, you can also check the turn signal switch itself. If the switch is damaged or corroded, it will need to be replaced. It is not advisable to drive with a bad turn signal switch. A bad turn signal switch can cause other electrical systems in your car to malfunction, which could lead to an accident. Additionally, if your turn signals are not working properly, you could be ticketed by the police. If you think you may have a bad turn signal switch, it is important to have it checked by a qualified mechanic as soon as possible.